Why would a law against wife beating be introduced? Not to protect women, but to help the neighbors sleep? It sounds impossible. In 1895, the city of London became linked to a remarkable bylaw that made it an offense for a man to beat his wife between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. At first, that sounds like real progress. Finally, the law was stepping in to protect women, but the story isn't nearly that simple. The bylaw became famous because many people believed it existed for a very different reason. Night after night, neighbors complained that they could hear a woman crying, screaming and begging for help. The noise had become impossible to ignore. That raises an uncomfortable question. If everyone could hear what was happening, why weren't the women being protected? To answer that, we have to step inside Victorian Britain. During much of the 19th century, many people believed that what happened inside a marriage should stay inside the home. A husband's violence was often treated very differently from violence in the street. Police were usually reluctant to interfere, and many women had few practical ways to escape an abusive marriage. Yet people outside the house could still hear everything. Newspapers regularly reported disturbing court cases. Campaigners described women arriving with broken bones, bruises and injuries that had been hidden for years. One of the loudest voices was the writer Frances Power Cobbe, whose famous article "Wife Torture in England" forced many Victorians to confront a reality they had preferred not to see. Public opinion slowly began to change. People started asking a question that had rarely been discussed before: should marriage really place someone beyond the protection of the law? At the same time, Parliament introduced reforms that gradually gave married women more legal rights over property and finances. These changes did not end domestic violence overnight, but they began to challenge the old belief that a husband had almost complete authority inside his own home. That brings us back to the famous 1895 bylaw. Modern historians still debate exactly how it was enforced and how widely it was applied. Some believe it reflected a genuine local regulation, while others argue that later retellings made it sound broader than it actually was. But regardless of those debates, the story survived for one reason: people found it believable, and that tells us something important about the society of the time. If thousands of people could accept the idea that keeping the streets quiet mattered as much as protecting the victim, it reveals just how differently domestic violence was viewed in the late Victorian era. Thankfully, those attitudes did not last forever. Throughout the 28th century, campaigners, lawmakers and survivors pushed for stronger legal protection, changing both the law and public opinion. Today, the story of that bylaw is remembered not simply because of one controversial rule, it is remembered because it forces us to ask a far bigger question: how many people heard the cries for help before society finally decided they deserved to be heard?